So you should be open to a new clean page in your vocab notebook. And you can go ahead and title it. You should have already written a date because we know the date's going to be on there. You can go ahead and title it with Wonder, Part 4, Chapters 1 through 5. And then you should have already had today's date, which is November 4th, 2020. Yes, Cullen.
It's the 4th, and we're on part
that is
4.
funny. It is the 4th, and we're starting part 4. Okay, we will have 3 words today. So Mason, you get to do the cards tonight, so I'll explain to you what that means later. Okay, so you'll get 3 index cards. Well, I'll give you 4 in case you make a mistake. With your pencil, you will write the word, kind of big, the part of speech, and the definition, and then go over it with your flair. Remember, trace the pencil marks. Don't just write over top of them. And then you'll erase any pencil marks, give it like a minute to dry, then erase the pencil marks, and then you'll bring them in the next day. So, since this is your responsibility, you have to make sure that every word is spelled exactly as it appears up here. If you can't see a word, just raise your hand, ask me how to spell it, and I will spell it for you. That goes for anybody in the classroom. And then make sure you have every single letter, every single word, every single punctuation mark. Okay? And I can explain to you more later on. Okay, so number 1, because we are starting a new part, so we are starting our numbering over. Number 1 is the word shepherd. Shepherd. S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D. Shepherd. So that H is silent, but it is there, and we know normally P and H together make the F, the F sound. But in this case, we have shep-erd with a silent H. The word shepherd, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D, is a verb, which we know means it's an action. And then, Mason, this is called a semicolon. It's not a J. So it's a semicolon. It's like a comma with a dot on top. So shepherd is a verb. It's an action. And it means to escort, which escort, we're putting in the definition for that in parentheses. Show around. So to escort or show around and care for someone or something. So to shepherd, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D, is a verb. That means it's an action. And it means to escort or show around and care for someone or something. Yes, Cullen.
Can you spell escort?
Spell escort, E-S-C-O-R-T. Escort is spelled E-S-C-O-R-T. Any other words in the definition that you need me to spell? Mason, any words you need me to spell? Okay. So here's the word in context. So you're going to be listening for this in the story, and you're going to try to figure out the situation. Why is it being said? What's going on? Who's saying it? Who are they saying it to? Why are they saying it? And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy around a bit. So make sure you're listening for that as we read the story. Figure out why is it there? Who's saying it? Who are they saying it to? Number 2. Number 2 is the word flattering. flattering. F-L-A-T-T-E-R-I-N-G. Remember, please make sure that your handwriting is good so that you can read it later. Tall letters are tall, like F and L and T. Short letters are short, like A-E-R-I-N. I has a dot. And G takes up half of the line and part of the line below. G's are not the same size. This is not how you would write this word. But this is how I see a lot of you writing it. This is not how you write that word. Please stop doing this. If you keep doing this, I am going to start taking off 5 points on each assignment. You have got to work on your handwriting. It is very hard for me to read this. It is hard for anybody to read it. It's probably hard for you to go back and read it. So do not write this way. Starting after Thanksgiving, I will take off 5 points every time I see this on your assignment. After Christmas break, it will be minus 10 points on every assignment. After January is over, so when February starts, it will be minus 5 each time you do this. In March, if you're still doing it, it will be minus 10 each time you do it. Do you understand? Your handwriting has got to get better. You cannot go to middle school writing like this. I am sorry that past teachers have not stopped it, so I'm going to have to stop it now, and it's going to be drastic. Past teachers should have stopped it, but they did not, so now we have to do more. We have to take more drastic measures. Okay. Flattering is an adjective. It is an adjective, which means it's a describing word. Flattering, F-L-A-T-T-E-R-I-N-G, is an adjective, which means it's a describing word. Do adjectives describe nouns or do they describe verbs? Smith.
Nouns.
Nouns, which means flattering would be used to describe a person, place, thing, or idea, not an action. So flattering means that something makes someone look or feel better about themselves. So if something is flattering, it means that that thing makes a person look better or feel better about themselves. A synonym would be, which means a word that means the same thing, would be complementary. Make sure all of these words are spelled correctly. If you need me to spell a word, raise your hand and I will spell it. Colin.
Complementary.
Complementary is spelled C-O-M-P-L-I-M-E-N-T-A-R-Y. Com-pli-men-tar-E. Anything else? Make sure all of your letters match. Make sure all of your words match. Make sure there are no capitals. Make sure all punctuation matches. Does anybody else need me to spell anything else? Aaron. Complementary again is C-O-M, com, P-L-I, plit, M-E-N, men, T-A-R, tar, Y, E. Complementary. Complementary. Yes.
Pretty much all you need to do is spell complement and add A-R-E-R-O-Y.
Yes. Spell complement, then add A-R-Y. Anything else needs spelled or repeated? Here is this word in context. So you're figuring out who said it, why they say it, what are they talking about. And Mom said, well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad too. So we already know Mom said it. Who's Mom? Who'd they say it to? Why'd they say it? What was flattering? Does this sentence say what was flattering? No, so we have to figure out what was flattering. Okay, number 3 is the word sympathetic. Sympathetic. S-Y-M, not S-I-M. S-Y-M-P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C. Sympathetic is spelled S-Y-M-P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C. Sympathetic. Sympathetic is another adjective, which means it describes a person, place, or thing. In this case, usually a person. Person would be sympathetic. Places, things, they would not be sympathetic. Maybe sometimes an animal, but even then, probably not sympathetic. It just may look like it. Sympathetic is an adjective, describes a person, and it means feeling or showing understanding. So feeling or showing understanding. When you feel or you show that you are understanding of a person and their situation, you are sympathetic. A synonym, which means a word that means the same thing, is compassionate. Compassionate. So sympathetic, S-Y-M-P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C, is an adjective. It describes a noun, usually a person. And it means feeling or showing understanding. A synonym is compassionate. So a person who is compassionate is also sympathetic. Any words need spelled? Zadie.
Oh, I don't need a word spelled, but you have to make sure the P goes under the line.
Yes, P's go under the line. A lot of you do capital P's every time. I know you know it's not capital. I know it's just your handwriting, so I haven't been counting off half a point for having a random capital. But after Thanksgiving, I will be counting off if you have capital P's everywhere that a lowercase p should be. Yes? Compassionate is spelled C-O-M-P-A-S-S-I-O-N-A-T-E. Compassionate is spelled C-O-M-P-A-S-S-I-O-N-A-T-E. Compassionate. Any other words? Okay, before you close your notebooks, your books should not be open yet. Before you close your notebooks, check every single word, every single letter, every single punctuation mark. Make sure it matches exactly how mine looks. Then put your vocab notebook away. Make sure that you are in your good listening position. Make sure that you are open to page 133. Your finger should be on the first word on page 133, ready to follow along. Remember, books are flat on your desk, not up straight like this. Finger should be on the first word on page 133. Please do this quickly so that we don't have to wait. Finger should be on the very first word on page 133. Carla, we're on page 133. Please get there quickly. I'm waiting for everybody's finger to be on the first word on page 133. I'm still waiting. I've been waiting a really long time for everybody to just put their finger on the first word on page 133. Okay, read along with me. Make sure that you are following along with your finger. Remember, you're using your index finger, not your thumb, because then you're covering up words, and it's not helping you to make sure that you don't accidentally skip lines or reread one line more than once. Okay, part 4, Jack. Now here is my secret. It is very simple. It is only with one's heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince. Turn the page, finger ready to follow along. Chapter 1, The Call. So, in August, my parents got this call from Mr. Tushman, the middle school director. And my mom said, maybe he calls all the new students to welcome them. And my dad said, that's a lot of kids he'd be calling. So my mom called him back, and I could hear her talking to Mr. Tushman on the phone. This is exactly what she said. Make sure your finger is following along, please. Oh, make sure your finger is following along, please. Sorry, I don't see your finger following along. Please do that. Don't think everybody needs to be doing this. Do not think that you are a better reader than everybody else, and you don't have to do it. Everybody needs to be following along. It helps keep your focus on what I'm reading, not letting your mind wander. It also makes sure that it'll help you to comprehend. Remember, use your index finger, put it underneath the word. Don't try to do this, because first of all, it's kind of uncomfortable after a while. Second of all, it does not help you with knowing exactly which line you're on. It may make you reread the same line or skip lines. Use your finger underneath, point to each word as I read it. Okay. When everybody's finger is ready, I will continue. Oh, hi, Mr. Tushman. This is Amanda Will returning your call. Pause. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. He's looking forward to it. Pause. Yes. Pause. Yeah. Pause. Oh, sure. Long pause. Oh, uh-huh. Pause. Well, that's so nice of you to say. Pause. Sure. Oh, wow. Oh. Super long pause. I see, of course. I'm sure he will. Let me write it down. Got it. I'll call you after I've had a chance to talk to him, okay? Pause. No, thank you for thinking of him. Bye-bye. And when she hung up, I was like, what's up? What did he say? And Mom said, well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad too. See, there's this boy who's starting middle school this year, and he's never been in a real school environment before because he was homeschooled. So Mr. Tushman talked to some of the lower school teachers to find out who they thought were some of the really, really great kids coming into 5th grade. And the teachers must have told him that you were an especially nice kid, which I already knew, of course. And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy around a bit. Like, let him hang out with me? I said. Exactly, said Mom. He called it being a welcome buddy. But why me? Make sure you're following along with your finger. I told you, your teachers told Mr. Tushman that you were the kind of kid who's known for being a good egg. I mean, I'm so proud that they think so highly of you. Why is it sad? What do you mean? You said it's flattering, but kind of sad too. Oh, Mom nodded. Well, apparently this boy has some sort of, I guess there's something wrong with his face, or something like that. Not sure. Maybe he was in an accident? Mr. Tushman said he'd explain a little bit more when you came into school next week. School doesn't start until September. He wants you to meet this kid before school starts. Do I have to?
Mom looked a bit surprised. Well, no, of course not, she said. But it would be the nice thing to do, Jack. If I don't have to do it, I said, I don't want to do it. Can you at least think about it? I'm thinking about it and I don't want to do it. Well, I'm not going to force you, she said. But at least think about it some more, okay? I'm not calling Mr. Tushman back until tomorrow, so just sit with it a bit. I mean, Jack, I really don't think it's that much to ask that you spend a little extra time with some new kid. It's not just that he's a new kid, Mom, I answered. He's deformed. That's a terrible thing to say, Jack. He is, Mom. You don't even know who he is. Yeah, I do, I said, because I knew the second she started talking about him that it was that kid named August. Chapter 2, Carvel. I remember seeing him for the first time in front of the Carvel on Amesfort Avenue when I was about 5 or 6. Me and Veronica, my babysitter, were sitting on the bench outside the store with Jamie, my baby brother, who was sitting in his stroller facing us. I guess I was busy eating my ice cream cone because I didn't even notice the people who sat down next to us. Then, at one point, I turned my head to suck the ice cream out of the bottom of my cone, and that's when I saw him. August. He was sitting right next to me. I know it wasn't cool, but I kind of went, ugh, when I saw him, because I honestly got scared. I thought he was wearing a zombie mask or something. It was the kind of, ugh, you say, when you're watching a scary movie and the bad guy, jumps out of the bushes. Anyway, I know it wasn't nice of me to do that. And though the kid didn't hear me, I know his sister did. Jack, we have to go, said Veronica. She had gotten up and was turning the stroller around because Jamie, who had obviously just noticed the kid too, was about to say something embarrassing. So I jumped up kind of suddenly, like a bee had landed on me, and followed Veronica as she zoomed away. I could hear the kid's mom saying softly behind us, "Okay, guys, I think it's time to go." And I turned around to look at them one more time. The kid was licking his ice cream cone. The mom was picking up a scooter, and the sister was glaring at me like she was going to kill me. I looked away quickly. Carla, please make sure you're paying attention. Veronica, what was wrong with that kid? I whispered. Hush, boy, she said, her voice angry. I love Veronica, but when she got mad, she got mad. Meanwhile, Jamie was practically spilling out of his stroller trying to get another look as Veronica pushed him away. But Veronica, said Jamie. You boys were very naughty, said Veronica as soon as we were farther down the block, staring like that. I didn't mean to, I said. Veronica, said Jamie. Us leaving like that, Veronica was muttering. Oh, Lord, that poor lady. I tell you, boys, every day we should thank the Lord for our blessings. You hear me? Veronica! What is it, Jamie? Is it Halloween? No, Jamie. Then why was that boy wearing a mask? Veronica didn't answer. Sometimes, when she was mad about something, she would do that. He wasn't wearing a mask, I explained to Jamie. Hush, Jack, said Veronica. Why are you so mad, Veronica? I couldn't help asking. I thought this would make her angrier, but actually she shook her head. It was bad how we did that, she said, just getting up like that, like we'd just seen the devil. I was scared for what Jamie was going to say, you know? I didn't want him to say anything that would hurt that little boy's feelings, but it was very bad us leaving like that. The mama knew what was going on. Carla, focus. But we didn't mean it, I answered. Jack, sometimes you don't have to mean to hurt someone. You understand? That was the first time I ever saw August in the neighborhood, at least that I remember. But I've seen him around ever since then. A couple of times in the playground, a few times in the park. He used to wear an astronaut helmet sometimes, but I always knew it was him underneath the helmet. All the kids in the neighborhood knew it was him. Everyone had seen August at some point or another. We all know his name, though he doesn't know ours. And whenever I've seen him, I try to remember what Veronica said. But it's hard, It's hard not to sneak a second look. It's hard to act normal when you see him. Chapter 3. Why I Changed My Mind. Who else did Mr. Tushman call? I asked Mom later that night. Did he tell you? He mentioned Julian and Charlotte. Julian, I said. Ugh, why Julian? You used to be friends with Julian. Mom, that was like in kindergarten. Julian's the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time. Well, said Mom, at least Julian agreed to help this kid out. Gotta give him credit for that. I didn't say anything because she was right. What about Charlotte? I asked. Is she doing it too? Yes, said Mom. Of course she is. Charlotte's such a goody two-shoes, I answered. Boy, Jack, said Mom, you seem to have a problem with everybody these days. It's just, I started. Mom, you have no idea what this kid looks like. I can imagine. No, you can't. You've never seen him. I have. It might not even be who you're thinking it is. Trust me, it is. And I'm telling you, it's really, really bad. He's deformed, Mom. His eyes are like down here. I pointed to my cheeks. And he has no ears, and his mouth is like... Jamie had walked into the kitchen to get a juice box from the fridge. Carla, focus, follow along. Put that away, please. Ask Jamie, I said. Right, Jamie? Remember that kid we saw in the park after school last year? The kid named August? The one with the face? Oh, that kid, said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. He gave me a nightmare. Remember, Mommy? That nightmare about the zombies from last year? I thought that was from watching a scary movie, answered Mom. No, said Jamie, it was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, ah! And I ran away. Wait a minute, said Mom, getting serious. Did you do that in front of him? I couldn't help it, said Jamie, kind of whining. Of course you could help it, Mom scolded. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing here. And she looked like how she sounded. I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can you imagine how he felt to see you running away from him, Jamie, screaming? It wasn't a scream, argued Jamie. It was like an ah! He put his hands on his cheeks and started running around the kitchen. Come on, Jamie, said Mom angrily. I honestly thought both of my boys were more sympathetic than that. What's sympathetic? Said Jamie, who was only going into the 2nd grade. You know exactly what I mean by sympathetic, Jamie, said Mom. It's just, he's so ugly, Mommy, said Jamie. Hey, Mom yelled, I don't like that word. Jamie, just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second. Look, Jack, said Mom as soon as he left, and I knew she was about to give me a whole speech. Okay, I'll do it, I said, which completely shocked her. You will? Yes. So I can call Mr. Tushman? Yes, Mom, yes, I said yes. Mom smiled. I knew you'd rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie. She messed up my hair. So here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I wouldn't have to hear Mom give me a whole lecture. And it wasn't to protect this August kid from Julian, who I knew would be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he had run away from August going, ah, I suddenly felt really bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance in middle school. Chapter 4, 4 things. First of all, you do get used to his face. The first couple of times I was like, whoa, I'm never going to get used to this. And then after about a week, I was like, huh, it's not so bad. Make sure you're following along with your finger. Second of all, he's actually a really cool dude. I mean, he's pretty funny. Like, the teacher will say something, and August will whisper something funny to me that no one else hears and totally make me crack up. He's also just overall a nice kid. Like, he's easy to hang out with and talk to and stuff. Third of all, he's really smart. I thought he'd be behind everyone because he hasn't gone to school before. But in most things, he's way ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Zamina, but he's up there. And unlike Charlotte or Zamina, he lets me cheat off of him if I really need help. If I really need to. Though I've only needed to a couple of times. He also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for it after class. Make sure your heads are up. Make sure you're sitting up straight. Carla, focus. This is not going to be helpful when you have to do the questions. The two of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Miss Rubin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say because the explanation would have been, oh, that's because I copied August's homework. But August lied to protect me. He was like, oh, that's because we did our homework together last night, which wasn't true at all. Well, doing homework together is a good thing, Miss Rubin answered, but you're supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do your homework together. Got it? After we left the classroom, I said, dude, thanks for that. And he was like, no problem. That was cool. Fourthly, now that I know him, I would say I actually do want to be friends with August. At first, I admit it, I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be especially nice and all that. But now, I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at all my jokes, and I kind of feel like I can tell August anything. Like he's a good friend. Like if all the guys in the 5th grade were lined up against a wall and I got to choose anyone I wanted to hang out with, I would choose August. Chapter 5, Ex-Friends. Make sure your finger is following along. Bleeding scream? What the heck? Summer Dawson has always been a bit out there, but this was too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know. And all she said was bleeding scream? I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day, me and August were friends, and the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me. And I haven't the slightest idea why. When I said to him, hey August, you mad at me or something? He shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for a fact that I didn't do anything to him to be mad about, I figured Summer could tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream? Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. You know, I've got plenty of other friends in school. So if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. That is okay by me. See if I care. I've started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now. This is actually kind of hard since we sit next to each other in practically every class. Carla, focus. Other kids have noticed and have started asking if me and August have had a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him. Hardly anyone ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with other than me is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kingsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the Plague behind his back, because no one ever really told me about it directly. But my point is that it's not like he has a whole lot of other friends he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. Carla, focus. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like, I'll say, what did Ruben say the homework was? And he'll answer. Or he'll be like, can I use your pencil sharpener? And I'll get my sharpener out of my pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me, like the whole thing about the play. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. And the truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group, and he's just as far from the popular group as you can get. But now, I can hang out with anyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad is because, well, A, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much. And B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up, and it's all August's fault. Okay, who heard Shepherd? Who was talking? Who was that person talking to? What were they talking about? Aaron.
I heard it when.
A little louder.
I heard it when Jack's mom was talking about him showing August around the school.
Good. So he was shepherding him by showing him around the what?
The school.
The school. So who was talking?
His mom.
Whose mom?
Jack.
Jack's mom. Who is Jack's mom talking to?
Jack.
Jack. And she was talking about how Mr. Tushman wanted Jack to show August, or shepherd August, around the school. Okay, who heard flattering? Zadie.
When Jack's mom said it was kind of flattering and sad.
Okay, what was flattering? What was she talking about? What was flattering?
When they chose Jack to be one of the kids that would show August around the school.
So she was saying that it was flattering that they asked August to show him around the school. Why was that flattering? Who was being flattered?
Her mom.
The mom was being flattered? Who was being flattered? Who was the one that was looking good or feeling better about themselves? Smith?
Jack.
Jack. And why was it flattering that he was asked to show August around? Why was that flattering? Come on, guys, think. Just because I didn't call on you doesn't mean that you can't come up with these answers. Do not ignore me. Why would that be flattering? Why would it be flattering for Jack to have been the one to be asked to shepherd August around the school? Michaela, why is that flattering?
Because he was smart and he was nice to everyone.
Because he was a good kid. Did it ever say anything about him being smart and that's why it chose? So should we include that in the reason? No. Don't add information in. If it's not there, don't make it up. But it did talk about how he was known for being a nice kid. So that is flattering when someone picks you for a job because you're known for being a good kid or a nice kid. Okay, who heard sympathetic? Victoria.
I heard it when the mother was being very mad, like when she was getting mad
At who?
at Jack and Jamie.
So Victoria was saying that the mom said it when she was mad at Jack and Jamie. Well, what was she saying? What was she talking about? Why did she say the word sympathetic?
I think it's because Jamie said, remember that nightmare, Mommy?
So what was he being?
He was being mean
He was being mean. Jamie was being mean. So why did she say sympathetic?
because Jamie said, "But that feeling ugly," or she had it.
Okay, so we already know he was being mean. Why did she say sympathetic when Jamie was being mean?
Because you never should say that about a person.
Okay, because you should never say that about a person, but why specifically did she say sympathetic? Zari?
Because she was like, you don't know him, and you don't know him, and then they're like, yes, I do.
Okay. Well, why did she use the word sympathetic specifically? Aaron?
She said she thought her kids almost
which means she thought her kids were more what than they were. So she said she thought her kids were more sympathetic than that, which means she thought her kids were what? Smith?
Better than that.
Better than that, kinder. And were they acting that way in the moment? Definitely not. Okay, so go ahead and I'm going to pass out journals. Open to the first clean page. Remember, make sure you're using the backs. Write Wonder Part 4, Chapter 1 through 5, and today's date at the top. Then close your books. Close your journal. You should have your questions out if you are at home. Let's go ahead and read the questions together. Make sure that you are paying attention as I am explaining these questions so that you don't have to come and ask me later, what does this question mean? I'm telling you right now exactly what the questions mean. Number 1, why does Mr. Tushman call Jack's parents? What is Jack's response? So that means, what is the reason that Mr. Tushman calls? What does he call for? Also, why does he call Jack's parents instead of others? So what is the reason that he's calling them, and why is he calling them and not other people? What is Jack's response? So what does he think? What does he think about that? You can say what he thinks about it first. Number 2, what does Jack try to remember about August every time he sees him in the neighborhood before he meets August? So this is before school has started. What does Jack always try to remember about August when he sees him before school starts? Number 3, why does Jack change his mind about being a welcome buddy for August? So he had a different response at first. Why did he change his mind? Number 4, summarize the 4 things Jack shares in the chapter 4 Things. Which of them is most surprising or interesting to you? So you're summarizing. That means, do you copy it straight from the book if you are summarizing? If you are summarizing, do you copy straight word for word from the book? Zari?
No.
No. Summarize means put it in your own words. So summarize, put the 4 things that Jack shares in that chapter, 4 things, in your own words. So in your own words, what are those 4 things he says? Then, once you're done with that, which of them is most surprising or interesting to you? Which of those 4 things do you think is the most surprising or interesting? Then why? Don't forget, anytime it says you have to make a decision, I also need to know why you made that decision. So girls at home, you can ask why. You can add the word why to the end of number 4. So go ahead and do that with your pencil. Add the word why to the end of question number 4. And then I'll read number 5. So find question number 4 and add the question why. Capital W, H, Y, question mark. Yes, Smith.
On number 4, do you have part of it underlined in red?
I do. So you just don't. You can underline, summarize the 4 things Jack shares. Leave off in the chapter 4 things, and then underline which of them is most surprising or interesting to you, and then why. Okay, number 5. What does Jack think is good about being ex-friends with August? What does he think is bad about it? So there's 2 parts to that question. You need to make sure you answer both. What does Jack think is good about being ex-friends with August? What does he think is bad about being ex-friends with August? Okay, remember, at least 2 complete sentences. If you do not have 2 complete sentences, or your 2 complete sentences are very, very short and could have been combined into 1 with more information added, you will lose 10 points now instead of 5. If you don't answer part of the question, you will lose 10 points now instead of 5. Make sure you answer as many as you can in this 15 minutes. Do not stop at 2. A lot of you are thinking, oh, I'm finished with 2. I can stop. No, you can't. You keep going until that time is up. You have no idea when 15 minutes is up. So that means you should not be stopping just because you finished 2. 15 minutes of effort means you are writing and thinking that entire 15 minutes, not you're finishing 2 and then just dawdling for the rest of the time. That's not 15 minutes of effort. Make sure that you are using correct grammar, use text evidence when needed, but do not rely on it to take up your whole answer. I know what the book says, I want to know what you say. If you use text evidence to take up your whole answer instead of telling me the answer to these questions or what you think, you will lose 10 points on that question. Remember, write the question, skip one line, write the answer, skip one line, write the question, and so on. Okay, when I say go, you will have 15 minutes. Music does start in 10 minutes, but I will ask Dr. Nix if we can be a little bit late. Okay? So you have 15 minutes. Go. You need to spend the entire time writing and thinking.